Hello and welcome to the Game Football Podcast from the Times and Sunday Times. Arsenal's lead at the top of the Premier League is back to 5 after they hit 4 against Tottenham in the North London derby. Liverpool picked up crucial 3 points with a late winner at Nottingham Forest, but it was 2 points dropped for Chelsea against Burnley as Nico O'Reilly's double stole the show for Manchester City. And it was a weekend when we were reminded that there is only one James Milner as the Brighton midfielder set a new record for Premier League appearances. Joining me, Tom Clarke, to discuss all that and much more, we have the senior sports writer and Sunday Times columnist Alyson Rudd, the football reporter who covers clubs in the south of England with a particular focus on Chelsea. It's Peter Rutzler, and the former footballer turned journalist Gregor Robertson. It's here, as usual. Do you see what I did with that intro there? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Didn't notice it. No one noticed it. Just sat there waiting for them to speak about their big game.
Go on.
No, that was it. That was all I did. I just thought you might be like, oh, that was quite clever, Tom. But anyway, never mind. Let's talk about the North London derby. Alyson, you were there.
Yes.
Arsenal responding after that draw against Wolves in the week. Did they play like champions here?
They did what... It's very easy to sound wise after the event. I did write before the game. This was a really good chance for Arsenal to get back their mojo and look like champions. Not elect, that's because mathematically they're not, but they did not look like a team that were worried about the run-in or about their own form or their own personality. They played proper football. So there's been a restraint to them in the games where they've dropped points, and you sort of feel, no one's going to hand you a game in this division, mate. You've got to really work for it. So although Spurs were abject, Arsenal did work for it, and it could have easily been a bigger margin of victory. They weren't relying on set pieces. They were playing proper, attacking, clever football, crisp passing, intuitive, proper patterns, a real team. There were only 2 you could say drop points against Wolves. Arteta made 2 changes, both of which, especially the Eze one. He brought in Eze to start. That man does not start as often as you might have guessed he might do. And it felt a bit like, is he being a bit superstitious, Arteta, because he scored a hat-trick against Spurs in November. But it wasn't... He obviously just thought, you're going to enjoy yourself again, so do it again. And he did, and Eze looked more free and happy than he has done for a while.
He was given quite a lot of space by Tottenham
exactly.
at times.
So I have to temper. Although
Yeah.
Arsenal were fantastic, I have to say I'm not generally seeing a team... So you'd say, OK, Arsenal dropped points against the team at the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful. But Wolves looked a much better team than Tottenham do.
Yeah, I would agree. Having watched both those games from the Times offices.
So I don't know how far I can say Arsenal looked like champions. They did it, but they did do everything they should do.
Yeah.
They were away from home. They played very nice football. Any criticism would be one lapse of conversation. He didn't talk to me at all, Declan Rice. One lapse in concentration from Declan Rice, but he made up for it. He's not one of those players.
It was quite funny, I've got to say. I've no reason to not really like Declan Rice. I think he probably is one of those footballers that everyone really likes. But it was quite funny watching him go, come on, lads, focus, keep calm, and then immediately give the ball away for a goal.
Did you not think it was inevitable that was going to happen? Yeah. Just like Steven Gerrard and the slip thing. It just goes straight to mind. I don't know what you think, Gregor, on this, but surely that just puts the idea of making a mistake into a moment where you can just, right, let's just take control of this.
Well, you actually said that once, didn't you, in your career, where you had you made
a
cock up with a back pass because you thought in your head, don't drop this short, and you did exactly
psychology,
that.
I keep saying it. It's a very strange thing, phenomenon. Yeah, I said not short. I remember mentally thinking not short as I tried to play a back pass, and I played the back pass short. It's the thing that was in my mind.
It's like the don't think of an elephant and then you think of an elephant.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe that's what Declan Rice was doing when he was trying to play the ball out from the back. I'll come at you, Alyson. You've summed it up very nicely there, as you did in your match report as well on the Times website. We'll come on to Tottenham in just a second, but Gregor, this performance was probably a big win for you and Tony Cascarino from last Thursday's show when we were having a bit of a ruckus about Arsenal's performance against Wolves. Do you agree with Alyson, or are you in the more of the camp of, well, they can only beat what's in front of them, and it was 4-1. What more can you ask for?
I have to lean for the both things can be true, Claxon. Because,
that's all right.
Because they did whatever you say, whatever the opposition, because the last opposition was the worst team in the league. They dispelled doubts in this game. A lot of doubts were aired again, and the sort of, as we spoke about, the turmoil and the angst and everything was stirred up at once again. So whoever they were playing in the next game, and we had debated beforehand whether it was a good thing or not for it to be a North London derby away against a team with a new manager, you have to, despite how bad Tottenham were, you have to throw all those things in the mix and say Arsenal answered a lot of questions in this game. And
which one do you think they answered the most strikingly of all the ones that were posed kind of in the last week? You know, have they got the temperament for it? Can they handle the pressure? Can they score enough goals? What was the most kind of striking thing for you in this game?
What's their favourite film? Groundhog Day. It was 4-1 again, wasn't
Declan Rice never speaks to Alyson.
Yeah. Eze only scored against Tottenham. But
the psychology of it. Because that's the thing. That's the thing. We all know that's the thing that, the top of the pile that could hold Arsenal back and prevent them from winning the league. They have the best. Everyone keeps saying it. They have the best team. They have the best squad. Yep. Like, I think, you ask anyone, ask even some Man City fans, and they'll probably agree with you on those things. Do they have the sort of psychological, strength and capacity and will and ability just to rise above all these doubts and questions that are going to keep getting thrown at them throughout the rest of the season for 10 more games to keep producing the performances they need to win the title?
They blocked out the noise, didn't they? Which is what we were worried that they wouldn't be able to do.
You could see Arteta afterwards is sort of the way how effusive he was. He was like, it's been a joy to be with these guys in the last 72 hours to kind of...
He was talking about rewatching the Wolves game and it being horrible.
Yeah, it's a mystery. Like we don't know how we didn't win that game. Like and so he was just immensely proud, I think, in the way they responded. Like, yes, we'll come on to Tottenham, but that's all valid.
Really good for Eberechi Eze and Viktor Gyokeres, two players who probably haven't been at the forefront of everything the last couple of months. Two good goals for Gyökeres. Eze, of course, is now the record that the players he's now level with for scoring the North London derbies. Remarkable, isn't it? It's like, I think it's only Adebayor who scored more. It's the same as Thierry Henry.
Yeah, he's up there with Pires as well. That's some really big name players. Yeah.
But, and maybe we'll come on to Tottenham, but even with the Gyökeres, the two goals, great finishes. It's Paulinho who's the closest one to him. He's shuffled in at centre back for the first goal. Yeah. And then for the second one, it's Archie Gray at wing back trying to deal with him. So I'm not trying to downplay it.
No. Well, I think Gyökeres is an interesting point though, and we keep saying we're going to come on to Tottenham. So let's finish with Arsenal by talking about Viktor Gyokeres. He has scored more goals in 2026 across all competitions than any other Premier League player. 8 in 15. Is he starting to look good? I thought about this game. It's a big North London derby. You'd said before, Gregor, look at the teams he's scored against. And then you're like, but it's a North London derby. But then hang on a minute, everyone's saying Tottenham are crap. So is it the same thing? I was quite impressed with the way he took his goals. He's starting to kind of implement that kind of barrelling style that he's got into the Premier League, shoving people off.
It's a very good point. He has looked lumbering. That's the thing. He's big.
Yeah.
But he's looked lumbering. But the way he used his strength against Archie Gray, it was man against boys.
Yeah.
It was.
But that's what you want him to do, isn't it?
So he didn't look lumbering.
Yeah, he looked dominant
in this
and
derby.
Like,
he looked like, what's he going to take to defend against him? So if he can keep that trajectory where the lumbering, people slightly laughing at him, not being more of a championship-looking striker than a Premier League-looking striker. If he can turn that on its head and make that physical strength count, as he did in that goal, then I think maybe he has turned a corner.
It's turning it into a presence, right? Because you can look lumbering, but if you have that presence and you make defenders think about what you're doing, your movement and your strength, that changes how you're seen. I still don't think he's an elite centre-forward. I think he's a good option for them because he's different. And it makes defenders think in a different way about how Arsenal are setting up and how...
But that can still be good enough, right?
It is.
That could still be
I'm
good.
not saying it's
at
not.
Elite football level, I mean, I know you cost a lot of money, and we'll come on to that in a second with some comparisons, but that could still be a good thing, couldn't it? If they've got Havertz fit, which obviously they don't at the moment. Yeah. Jesus, Gregor, thoughts on Gyökeres overall? Still not convinced?
Yeah, look, this was his best game. He had twice as many touches as his average over the league over the course of the season. Complete twice as many passes. He was involved in play twice as much as he usually is. So it stands to reason that he looked more impressive. Spurs also playing three at the back and giving him space to run in those left channels, like plays into his hands. If you watch his goals back at Sporting Lisbon, almost all of them come from a ball in behind to that little channel, and he either runs through and goal or he cuts back inside and lashes it in. So Spurs played in his hands in that regard, but also, as Pete just alluded to, the first goal was a shambles. Like, it's ridiculous that, all Eze had to do was make a run ahead of him to draw one defender out, and no one stepped in. And clearly, Paulinho is not a central defender in the back three or any other shape, and they just looked around each other. So, and then Archie Gray was was thrown off. I like that's Archie Gray. He's that 18, 19-year-old or whatever he is.
Not a wing back.
Slight defender. He's good and he's got a great career ahead of him, but I've seen him be dominated by other centre halves, and I still think when there's less space, and like that's a challenge for anyone. It's a challenge for Erling Haaland. We had the same conversation about Erling Haaland in Man City. How do you influence the game when there's so little space? Teams play a low block and there's no space to run in behind. How do you do it? You've got to do it by being so crafty and like so instinctive in the box, and still finding a way to influence and get those decisive touches when space does arrive. So he's not been able to do that this season. That's not all his fault. It's also the way Arsenal have played and serviced them. This game was completely different. He'd love to play Spurs every week.
Yeah, I think
Everyone
probably a lot of people would, and we will come on to Tottenham in just a second. But just a final thing on perception. We talked so much in the summer about strikers and clubs signing. This was the summer window of loads of strikers, and just talking about Gyökeres. Just wanted to look at the kind of the 4 biggest strikers moves that happened, and who do we think has kind of got the best deal. Viktor Gyokeres signed for around £60 million. He's 27 years old. He's got 15 goals in 36 games. Hugo Ekitike, £79 million, 23 years old, 16 in 38 games. João Pedro, around £60 million, 24 years old, 14 in 36 games. So there's 3 strikers, all with roughly the same records. Benjamin Sesko, £74 million, 22 years old, 7 goals in 22 games. So fewer games, but about the kind of same kind of goal ratio. Who got the best deal?
Liverpool.
Yeah?
And I'm pretty sure you could probably do a deep dive analysis on their movement and minutes played and
influence,
so on. Yeah. But with the eye test, Ekitike brings more than that to the team. He got personality. He arrived at a very difficult time for the club, and he's given them a bit of joy. He integrated very quickly. That's priceless, I would say. Fans adore him. Teammates seem to enjoy playing with him. He's got an eye for goal, but he's also selfless. His link-up play is really good. He looks like someone who's going to blossom and become even better. But
I think
his personality is astonishing.
He's the only one who's exceeded expectations.
Yes,
the rest haven't actually. João Pedro,
I think there's a case. You can make a case for him,
but we knew more about him. He was clearly he came from another Premier League club. It was a slightly different dynamic. Like the other two have struggled to meet expectations. I think also.
But Sesko, it's interesting the age thing, isn't it? Then when you say there's 5 years between Sesko and Gyökeres, like I've seen things recently from Sesko that I'm like, might be a player. Might be a Premier League striker.
I think probably the lesson from all of this is that like you can't judge them too quickly. We always rush to judgment, and coming from a different league in the first place is hard. When you're 22, it's even harder. And when you're coming, like they've all had different challenges too. Like Sesko's joined a pretty dysfunctional team with a manager that's kind of, I don't know, willing to throw all of these players, including him, under the bus. Like saying he's trying too hard and stuff. Like he's always found a way of undermining everyone. We've just discussed Gyökeres was joining a team who play very differently, and the opposition play very differently than against them than he would be used to as well. But I think I agree with Alyson. Like, when you look at all of it, it's Ekitike. Ekitike is he's got everything really. He can drop deep and link play. He can create a goal out of nothing. And Alyson's right, the personality, the sort of the feeling, even despite Alexander Isak's arrival, despite everything going on around him, he's willing to be the man who stands up and makes a difference.
He's made a big impact for Arne Slot, and I think in a very difficult season, and I think that also should be taken into account.
Yeah.
So I'm also inclined to agree. I think with João Pedro, I think he's particularly since Resenha's come in, he's looked a lot better. He's playing as a 9. He's being treated as a 9. He's been asked to play with more intensity. And when he does, he's really, really quite impressive. The way he can link with Cole Palmer. He's got the physicality, the presence. He can win the ball in the air. He can score some really good goals. Yeah. So I wonder maybe in a year's time we might have a slightly different conversation, because as you say, if Sesko can get his feet under the table, then maybe we'll have a different impression of him. Yeah. And I think the one thing with Ekitike, I think he can be more clinical. I think that even against Forest,
I mean,
quite a good chance.
Missed an absolute sitter with that header.
Yeah, and that's not the first time he's done that this season. But I think in the context of Liverpool's season, he's
interesting though, isn't it? When you just outline those numbers at this stage in the season, and as you said, Gregor, about our quick to judgment and things, it's fascinating. Maybe they're all good signings after all. But if you've got views on those 4 strikers, get in touch with me, tom.clarke@thetimes.co.uk. Now, we keep saying it, we are going to talk about Tottenham. Maybe Tottenham fans didn't want us to talk about Tottenham. Maybe they just want us to move on. Alyson, this was another worrying performance, wasn't it? There was so much thought, as Gregor alluded to earlier, we debated, is this the perfect free hit for Igor Tudor? The first 10 minutes you were going, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. They rallied in parts, but this is not a team that looks well equipped to cope with what they've got to come, is it?
Igor Tudor, he may as well have turned up wearing a Henry VIII costume.
I knew there was a gag coming.
Throwing chicken legs over his shoulder for all the impact he had, which seemed to be zero. The guy looked completely shell-shocked. He's won his first game of his last 5 clubs in charge. Right. And it felt like, in a flash, you thought, Spurs hierarchy have just gone for that. They've ticked the box. Oh, this is a guy who wins his first game. He has the new manager bounce. It's guaranteed. And we know the fans won't boo him. Oh, this will be fantastic. And the fans didn't boo him, but they were very quiet by the end because it was probably it was
which
as
is
bad.
Understandable.
It was as bad a performance as the 4-1 at the Emirates, but it was worse than a lot of other performances they would have seen. There've been better performances by Spurs than this one. There's no cohesion whatsoever, and I don't think if I pulled every player out for an interview in a room pretending to be Spurs HR, I would say they're deliberately not trying, but they seem scared. They seem scared of the strangeness of the situation. It is a strange situation. They are in one of the best stadiums they'll ever play in their lives. It's built for Champions League football, which they know,
Which they have got.
We're in the Champions League, and we finished 4th in a rather peculiar ladder, but they're 4th. And yet, you just said, Tom, they rallied in stretches or something.
In little parts.
Yeah, they didn't rally as much as teams like West Ham and Forest and Wolves and Burnley have rallied in games. And you watch those teams play and you think, they're in danger. Obviously, Wolves are in massive danger. But even Wolves when they get their act together, look better than Spurs do.
Just a quick one on before we come on to that bigger relegation picture. On the formation and system, I was discussing this with Tom Allnut, who was at the game with you, of course. Yes. We had a situation recently with Tottenham under Thomas Frank where he started with a back 3 against Manchester City, looked fairly lacking in cohesion, to use your phrase. Then he kind of made a change at half-time, went to a back 4, which even though I think the back central pairing was Paulinho and Dragusin, was it? I think in that game. Yes. They looked much improved. Igor Tudor's come in slightly Ruben Amorim style. I play a back 3.
So we're playing a back 3.
We're playing a back 3. It's not a lot of time to come in with a kind of big, bold style. And I mean, Tom Allnut said this to me on the phone. They've played a back 3 under Frank this season. They can do it. But to me, that was part of the problem looking at this game, is that you had a lot of players going, hang on, wait, where am I supposed to? Oh, no, I'm supposed to be there. Oh, crap, that says I've missed him. It looked very muddled. And I know it's early and I know it's quick. He's only had a couple of days, etc.
Yeah.
But
and I think you could have put a lot of money on him playing a back 3, whatever.
Absolutely.
I mean, there was I think he said in one of his pre-match presses that he was going to assess what he had in front of him before he did go with the back 3.
That's what's alarming.
Well, he
was always going to go.
Exactly
he was always going to go for a back 3.
He's come in and said, I'm going to assess what we have. We've got this major injury crisis. We'll set up, and the way that we'll work the team, the setup did not work with that team. We talked about it before. Actually, great at wing back. Salah on the other side. He's done for. Was it the first goal? But it's the second goal. First goal was Saka going through him far too easily. Paulinho at centre back. That really, for me, was probably one of the more concerning aspects from Tudor, because he's not backed up what he said. He's just gone with what he knows and what he feels will be most secure, and playing a back 3 and a 5 can feel like that. Yeah. But as you said, we've seen them be quite effective in a 4. You can still be quite narrow and compact in 2 lines of 4. So we haven't really seen many attacking patterns of play from Tottenham all season. I don't think he's going to come in and do that. We think he'd come in and be quite aggressive, quite front-footed with the press. But if you're using a system in players that are out of position, it's going to be really hard to do that. It's going to be really hard to be man on man, and they really seem to struggle with that possession.
You made an interesting point there. Is it? You said he's not going to come in and do that. We've not seen much attacking force from Tottenham this season. You've got a situation now where suddenly we're going, oh, crikey, they are right down the bottom, and they've made a managerial change. They've brought in a gun for hire who does this and saves people. Is there something about coming back to psychology again of where that might start getting in the players' heads of, rather than being a team that's way too good to go down, they start going, oh, Christ, we actually might go down, and it becomes a self-perpetuating thing.
They were looking who's in the dugout.
Will certainly be looking around and thinking that. I mean, clearly they have got a lengthy...
They've got loads of injuries, absolutely loads. Yeah.
Danso, Porro, Kulusevski, Madison, Bergvall, Bentancur, Kudus. Like, crikey, that's a team. And none of them are that. Like, there's a couple will come back in March, but that's the big issue. Like, actually, you don't quite look at the team or the squad and see where the uplift is coming, where that kind of, I don't know, that spark is going to come from. This is what he has, and he was scathing afterwards. It's not like he's someone who's going to massage their egos afterwards and said, no, we worked hard and we've got a lot of work to do. He said we've got a lot of work to do, but he said we were worlds apart from Arsenal. It was like, they were saying that's the target we're aiming for. These guys aren't. They don't really want. They might know deep down that's the case, but
15th is what they're aiming for, isn't it? Surely that's like.
Well, they enter the season thinking like.
No, but at this stage, the 15th and maybe a little run in the Champions League is what they're aiming for, isn't it? They've got to be
17th.
They finished 17th last season.
It is now.
Yeah. But I'm saying for him, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying he's come in with these big manager chats. Like, you're only here to the end of the season potentially, or a bit longer. Like, in reality, like.
I thought it was surprising that he was quite so blunt about how far behind their closest, biggest rivals to this team are. Like, not as a message to anyone except the players.
Yeah.
Because the players will hear that. And like, for your first game, for the manager to say you're not even in the same ballpark as this team, that's like, oof.
I felt he was protecting himself slightly as well.
He was
saying, we had a good training session. We're good. We're good coaches. We know how to come into a club and assess players and take training. And then you see the reality. You see what's actually there.
It's good to learn
what's
about
actually
the team
there when they're playing, and you're not coaching them because they're trying to do what you've asked them to do. So it's got nothing to do with him how shit everything is.
Yeah, which is quite startling.
That's true.
And as Gregor,
but it's not helpful for the future.
But Gregor, you make the point about showing kind of the realities of this game, showing the realities of where Tottenham are. And Martin Samuel's written the same kind of idea in his Monday morning column on the Times website. They've got Fulham away next weekend, then Crystal Palace at home, Liverpool away, then a big match against Nottingham Forest just before the international break.
They've got to pick up points. You're mentioning that because before these players come back, if they are actually in the relegation zone by that point, it doesn't matter how good
or
they are.
Like even just 1 point ahead of West Ham or something like. I mean they're only 4 points ahead of West Ham now. What am I talking about?
It's so difficult to come back into that environment, no matter how good you are, and it'll be so difficult. Alisson's right. There's a whole psychological mismatch going on at Tottenham.
Yeah.
Should be a big team, but they're not a big team. The squad isn't good enough to be that.
Yeah.
I did point out in my match report that their penultimate game is at Stamford Bridge, which immediately makes you think of the Battle of the Bridge in 2016. I mean, Chelsea presumably at that point, will be fighting for a Champions League place, one would hope.
I wouldn't say it's guaranteed.
No, but they probably, but even if they're not, even if they're safe, and they know they've got Champions League football, or even if they know they can't get Champions League football with 2 games to go, they will be. I mean, you can imagine what the atmosphere will be like if they can help send Spurs down.
That fixture has been circled.
I don't. Just finally on like the shape as well. I actually don't know even if they're all fit who's supposed to play in a back three for Spurs.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because one of them's got to be Dragusin, and that's not a good sign. So, and then the other one is like, you're desperately hoping for Romero, who's an empty head, to come back. So, like, if he's really hell bent on playing a back three, like, there's bigger. There's more at play than the shape
absolutely.
and the
But,
as a starting block, a foundation for a new manager coming in, that's the way we play. It's we're coming back to this again. Our manager's really, really looking at what they have at the disposal, and like, setting up the team accordingly, or have they got their
with 3 months of the season to go? Go on,
no,
Pete.
but there is a squad thing as well, right? If this squad isn't going to take to Thomas Frank, are they going to take to Igor Tudor? And I still have that image of Van der Ven and Jed Spence with the way they treated Frank. And then you've got a new manager coming in trying to win them over.
Same thing yesterday. There was a clip that I saw yesterday of Tudor like screaming at Van der Ven, push up, and Van der Ven has just kind of stood there. He had the captain's armband on and just kind of looking at him as if to say, all right, mate, whatever. And I mean, you might be saying I'm overdoing that, but that's not a good look, is it? In a world where we can see everything, the captain looking at the brand new manager in a derby, telling him to push up and just standing there and going, fine, mate, yeah, sure, all right, yeah.
He just does have the vibe as well of someone who will just like, if he gets a whiff of that, one too many times, he'll just chop you. That's it. You're out the building. So, this has the potential to be an absolute disaster. That was the vibe.
Well, so this is the question that I want to finish with. And Tottenham fans, if you're listening, this comes with full backing from 2 of the staff members on the Times Sports Desk, who are Tottenham fans, who were just having a big heated debate as I came up to record this show. Can Tottenham go down?
They are bad. They are bad enough to go down.
Yeah, they can, because
look at the form of the other teams.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned it before. Wolves are playing well. They've got a bit of an identity to them. The last few games, they've had really good passages. Forest, brilliant in the first half against Liverpool. We'll probably talk about them. Like, most shots that Liverpool conceded in the first half since Stoke when they were 5-0 down. Well, that's more than a decade ago, wasn't it? Like, they were really good. They're brilliant against Fenerbahce. So they're alive. West Ham have looked like a different team since Lucas Paquetá has gone. I mean, there are players in that squad that should mean that Tottenham do not go down. But if they're in a situation, if we get to March and they are firmly entrenched, that's so hard to rescue it, psychologically, as much as anything.
Worrying times for Tottenham Hotspur fans. Get in touch with me with your views, tom.clarke @thetimes.co.uk. Coming back to the title race, it was a good win for Manchester City. Just a couple of quick pointers on that one. Nico O'Reilly, what a player he looks to be. Only one slight problem in a World Cup year, with all this chat about, he's got the left-back spot locked down, Gregor. If he then starts playing as a central midfielder, a 10, a striker, Thomas Tuchel might be on the phone to Pep and be like, could you just not, Pep, if that's all right? I know you like to do this with your young players. I know you're a creative manager. Just stick him at left-back for a run of 10 games, will you? Gregor, am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, to be honest, this is when I saw him putting his second goal, that very thought went through my mind, because he is, as Paul Hurst mentioned in his piece, like he's among the names for Player of the Year. For Man City's Player of the Year. He's been absolutely outstanding. And he's got that remarkable record that Ian Whittle wrote about in his report today, like his win percentage when he plays. Yeah. So I think they've only lost 1 game or something.
Yeah, he's like first name on the team sheet in a team that changes all the time. It's mad.
So, is that an issue? I mean, it's less of an issue than someone not playing. Like, Miles Skelly is not playing.
But mastering the position, when you're like, I've got this down, I'm facing this kind of winger, I'm facing this kind of midfielder. If he spent 5 games, marauding around midfield, and then he's in a World Cup game.
Well, spent more than 5 games, that's the thing.
I mean, in the lead up, but that is a problem, isn't it?
It's not ideal. No. But England will have warm-up games. They also have, they have a couple of games.
England have warm-up games where he just starts running around all over the place and Thomas Tuchel screaming, Nico, back there! Stop it! You're not wearing blue anymore.
But, it's not ideal, but he's England's best option now. Miles Skelly is not playing enough football.
You think it won't matter where he plays, he will be England's left-back?
Yeah, I mean, what's the alternative? People keep talking about Lewis Hall. People keep talking about Lewis Hall, but he's not looked at him properly yet. And
Luke Shaw, if he stays fit?
I think it'll be those 2 players will go. I think
O'Reilly and Shaw.
I think they'll go, yeah.
Luke Shaw will be stood on the touchline telling him how to be a left back while Nico O'Reilly runs all over the pitch.
I've got written down here, left back is now feeder role, sorry Gregor. I just think it's quite interesting how...
What a career he might have had though, Pete.
Well,
you never know. If he'd have been allowed to roam all over the pitch under Pep Guardiola. What a thought. Sorry, Pete.
No regrets. That's a thought. But obviously just thinking about the way Bukayo Saka was introduced to Arsenal.
True.
It's a way to sort of bring in these younger players maybe into these top teams. I suppose it has become... put them at left back and
absolutely.
Well, he's been a beneficiary of the changes at Man City as well. The way that changing the way they played, because clearly when there were 4 centre halves, which happened for a couple of seasons, he wasn't getting in the team that way. And then there's more of an onus on the fullbacks now to be wingers. So yes, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, he has all the attributes. He's 6'4". Yeah, he's rapid. He was I can't remember what I said, but it was clocked in the top 10 fastest players in the Premier League. Things that you you go, oh,
Score headers.
He scores a lot of goals,
Yeah.
And he's also great in tight areas, despite being a big, a big player, a tall lad. He's really comfortable in those tight spaces. He gets the ball and he's not like panicked. He's not rushed. He's just, I think he's really exciting. Yeah,
absolutely. Pep Guardiola saying after this match, Alyson, that he's going to tell his players to celebrate with some cocktails. Don't worry about the title race. Mikel Arteta shockingly wouldn't say what he was going to do with his players. How would we help players stay relaxed if they were in a title race? Maybe like a bit of group bonding, bit of bowling, maybe some darts, bit of a night out. What do we reckon?
Michelin star restaurant where they pair the wine, wine with 8 courses. That's so chilled.
Yeah, that is chill. Quite expensive, but fitting for a footballer though. Pete, any good ideas?
I was trying to think of some team bonding. When I covered Bournemouth a few years ago, Eddie Howe used to take Bournemouth off to loads of wacky stuff. I think he took them clay pigeon shooting once.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know if that's relaxing though.
No.
Maybe just get
used to the bangs. Yeah,
some for Tottenham maybe.
Yeah, maybe potentially. Gregor, ever do any good team bonding exercises in your playing days?
Loads. Yeah, not many that can be like discussed on air. But, yeah, we did go-kart once until one lad got hit so violently that he did his neck and was out for a wheel.
Don't do any team bonding that will get you injured. Maybe that's why Pep comes back to a couple of martinis and old fashions. Just behind the top two, Aston Villa dropping points in with a draw against Leeds. Villa have just won one of their last 4 Premier League matches at Villa Park. Their title challenge probably fading away. James Milner, of course, did play for Aston Villa, and we're going to use his amazing Premier League appearance record as a little quiz question going into the break. Sets the appearance record, James Milner, this weekend. 654 appearances, but for which of his 6 clubs did he play the most games? Find out after the break. Welcome back to the Game Football Podcast from the Times and Sunday Times. I'm Tom Clarke, and I've got Peter Rutzler, Alyson Rudd and Gregor Robertson with me. Gregor quite subdued on the answer to this question. We're all waiting for you to get the answer. It's producer Neil who came in with the answer. Did you? You said Newcastle first.
No, he did. I said Liverpool.
No, he did.
No.
That was such a petulant little point.
I'm always told off for not making an effort. I get it right. You don't even give me credit.
We were having such a good laugh about Nico O'Reilly, and it's all gone to pot in the second half of the show. Liverpool, Alyson Rudd, well done with the correct answer. 230 of James Milner's 654 appearances were for Liverpool. Then Manchester City, second with 147. Then Villa with 100. Ahead of Newcastle, 94, Leeds, 48, and Brighton, 35. And it is Liverpool who we're going to talk about at the start of part 2. A big win for them, a scrappy win at Nottingham Forest. Gregor Robertson, you were there, so the VAR technicians made sure there were lengthy delays whilst you checked some score. They were like, he's here, lads, let's really wind him up with a couple of mad delays at the end of this game, which delayed his copy, ladies and gentlemen, unsurprisingly, arriving at the sports desk.
It was quite an eventful last injury time.
We'll let you off. But overall, this game, did Liverpool deserve to win? Pete mentioned it in the first half. Forest were good. God, no.
They were woeful. You're right in your piece. That's the first half got to be the worst of the season.
Which the manager agreed
and then he
with.
just said, that was the worst half since I've been here. Basically, they were shocking. The way they started, they were so lethargic. So Jones was obviously drafted in for Wirtz, who was injured in the warm-up, and he got caught in possession 2 or 3 times in the first few minutes, and one of them, Sangare, was outstanding. Played through Hudson-Odoi. They were nearly 1-up in the opening few minutes, and then it was just all one-way traffic. Kept trying to play it from the back, and Forest were pressing them relentlessly, and that combination of them being so off the pace and Forest being really at it, despite having played in Europe 72 hours earlier.
And getting a great win in Europe as well, you must say. Yeah.
They were totally dominant. It was a mystery that they weren't at least 1-up in the first half. And then they gradually improved in the second half, but not to any great extent. It was still Forest who were going for the winner. And then the last 8 minutes were just bonkers. The
could see Pereira on the touchline kind of going, one of those moments as a manager where it's at the end of the game and you can't touch it, you can't do anything about it, and you're just going, no, stop it, what are you doing?
Yeah. Rio Ungamoa, who came on for Salah, did more in the 13 plus minutes on the pitch than Salah did in the whole entire game. Salah is getting close to a waste of space for most of the games.
I thought that was, of the moments I've seen of him this season, there was a moment where he tried to run, I think, Nico Williams down the outside, and Williams just put a little hand on his shoulder as if to say, sorry, mate. Yeah. And Salah just stopped running and turned around as if to say, Quite hard, this game, actually. I
Yeah,
mean,
and the thing I was watching the game, and I had to remind myself that this was the case last season, except he kept coming up. He kept
With a moment,
delivering
yeah.
the moments. There were games like I remember being at the first game, the opening game last season, yeah, Ipswich away, and he did nothing, and then I think he scored and set up, got a goal and an assist in that game, and it was like Salah's the main talking point of the story, and that became the story of the season for him. He's just completely non-existent. There was one cut back for Jones. It was across to the back post, and he cut it back for Jones and nearly scored. There was one moment in the first half where Murillo shanked a clearance to Szoboszlai, who'd been moved from right back into midfield, and he thought he was going to shoot, and he laid in Salah, and Gakpo was standing at the back post waiting for the cross, and he placed it high and over, and you're like, oh. So yeah, like that's not Liverpool's only issue, but he is one of them.
but just while we're on it, I mean, Mo Salah at Liverpool next season, or
Be amazed.
no?
Be amazed.
Why so? Just think can't do it anymore. I mean, he's got this 2-year contract. He was on the throne. Remember?
I think I honestly think for everyone, including a player, despite how great we have to emphasise
Absolutely.
how great he has been for Liverpool and football for the Premier League. There even comes a point for a player when there's a realisation that you're not hitting the standards, and it becomes quite kind of chastening. Actually, you're like, I'm not affecting these matches in the way I used to, and you fight it for so long. But if he keeps fighting it for the whole season and nothing changes, then I think he'll want to leave too.
Yeah.
There's also the assumption that everything's fine between him and Arne Slot now, and that everything that's happened was water under the bridge. It's not going to be fine.
No.
So that could even be a factor in his form. You could make that
As we
case,
said,
but
the Africa Cup of Nations came at a great time, and it for us just pretending that didn't
Yes.
happen.
Right.
Off you go, come back. Yeah, nice to see him. Oh, you bloody tosser! I can't believe you said that.
yeah, and so you can make the case that maybe that relationship means his form's gone off and someone else might lift him. But
It wasn't there in the first place though. So
that's the point.
Time to say bye, Alison. The end of the season.
I can't. I just can't. It's really hard.
But
He's
surely
been
you,
so phenomenal.
but surely you wouldn't want, to Gregor's point, you wouldn't want to see him stay and get even more even worse, even more ineffective,
Well,
having been so brilliant.
Maybe Xabi Alonso will come in
Oh.
and there'll be this remarkable resurgence.
She's picking Mo over the
Well, he is
manager
a-
who
it's an
won
interesting
them the
point.
Premier League.
He is a ghost just standing there, isn't he? I suppose,
Yeah.
Xabi Alonso. And that's the other thing is, for Arne Slot's got to think about himself a little bit. He's got to
Make sure they
won
get
the league in his
Champions
first
League,
season, but
maybe win a trophy.
show that there is a direction. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, although who's he to play? Like
And Gamoa?
Gamoa, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting to that point, but he's 17.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a chance because he was brilliant when he came on.
Yeah.
Like just making
And
things happen.
he's always brilliant when he comes on. He did it against Newcastle earlier in the season, didn't he? I
Yeah.
mean, very young and still very raw.
Yeah, there's
of
moments
course,
where he's
but
raw, and like that's going to be the case. But I think we'll see him getting more and more game time.
Stick Szoboszlai on the right wing. He's played everywhere else.
So anyway, he catalysed the chaos basically when he skipped to the byline, crossed up for Ekitike. I don't know how he didn't score, and yeah, that was just absolute madness. And what come on, what do we think about the handball? I know McAllister came out and said, yeah, it hit my hand, but still, I know it's, again, we're talking about the letter of the law as if that is everything.
But do you not, I slightly think with the letter of the law on this one, the idea of scoring a goal with any part of your arm or hand in any way shouldn't be allowed. Like even in this way, which is probably the only...
Wasn't his hand?
The best way you could score a goal with your arm in the least offensive way would be with your back turned and with your arm tucked in.
There you go.
That's about it. But even then, every other way would be like, that's handball, that's an arm
Even if
out,
the ball,
or
ball really hit more of his back than his arm too.
I'm saying
And the
that...
ball hit him. He wasn't trying to do anything.
But the premise that I often take your point about the letters of the law and the laws being stupid, but I think the law on this one, having a blanket law of if it hits your hand or your arm, it can't be a goal, lads. It's football. Alison?
Well, I suppose so. But it does make football seem a bit ludicrous. These things happen. The ball is whacked against you and it goes in.
There's definitely lots of things that make football seem ludicrous these days.
No one's trying to
just a
cheat.
game.
No one's trying to cheat there.
I'm more okay with it. I'm not.
Yes.
I'll get back to other things, but I think, I'm
Squares.
okay with it.
2-2. 2-2 on that one. We've talked about Liverpool.
But the question is, and Gregor was there, so I really want to know what he thinks about this, which is, it was Liverpool's worst performance under Slot, and he said so.
Half, yeah.
Worst half.
Half. Okay, worst half.
I mean, it wasn't far off.
But, you know,
the full
okay.
thing.
Worst half. And so the question is, why? Do you think it was because they thought they had Szoboszlai in an attacking role, and that was taken away from them when Wirtz got injured, and so there was a sort of dip in morale, like, oh, he's playing right back again, we don't fancy that.
But also Wirtz being injured.
Szoboszlai got moved to right back.
Szoboszlai was always playing right back. Wirtz would have been in midfield.
But
then Jones came in midfield.
But the change,
and then they swapped them. Jones went to right back, and Szoboszlai came into midfield.
So why do you think what happened?
But Wirtz being injured,
there's also an issue about this whole thing. Like, it's true that Szoboszlai is their only kind of stand-up,
he's the talisman,
star. He's
don't
the talisman.
You think they prefer him to be in attack?
Yeah, that's why he moved him in, because he said we're losing every ball. We had no control whatsoever. That's why he moved him into midfield. But it worked in the end. Like, we should say, the moment that won the game was an extraordinary moment of composure when you're on the edge of the box, not even the edge of the box, like 40 yards from goal. Basically, the last man, everyone's in the box, and he's confronted with, I think it was Dominguez, and instead of just hurling it in, he's kind of chopped and then chopped again, just to create that space, and then he can just feed in a delicious, like, perfect cross. That composure in that moment under pressure is like elite, and that more than anything, actually, I think was the action that won them the game, because the cross in was so hard to deal with. Van Dijk wasn't really even trying to score; he's kind of just trying to keep it in for a scramble it off the line, and McAllister's the one on the spot. So that moment of composure is what really won Liverpool the game. So, but he's always the one who's stepping up to help them win games. And Slot praised the fact that they were throwing their bodies on the line, they defended, they didn't concede, and there were moments. Van Dijk made a great tackle in the first half, kind of recovery tackle on Igor Jesus. There were a lot of blocks, but crikey, they don't want to be living like that. Because it just seems weird that they're actually firmly in the race for the Champions League, because they've been awful.
Well, we'll bring that back in just a second when we talk about Chelsea. But coming back to Forest and that relegation battle, then, having spoken about Tottenham, West Ham, it felt like a missed opportunity, as good as it was to get a clean sheet for Nuno Espirito Santo, not getting a win against Bournemouth, drawing their game. Leeds as well, pegged back late on, as I mentioned, by Aston Villa. Wolves, as much as they looked good against Arsenal with that draw, missing out on the opportunity to get points against Palace, losing that game. So we've got Wolves bottom of the table, 10 points. They look almost certainly dead and buried. Then Burnley 19, getting a point at Chelsea, which we'll talk about in just a second. West Ham 25, Forest 27, Tottenham 29, Leeds 31. Do Tottenham start coming back into it when we're talking about these other teams? Forest, Gregor, do you think there was enough in this game? You've said it many times under different managers. You said it under Sean Dyche, I think they'll be all right, and then they looked a bit bad. Vitor Pereira's got until a couple of months and see if he can turn it around and get the new manager bounce. Well,
he clearly lifted them. He's given them. It looks from the two games, the Fenerbahce game, which was probably their best performance of the whole season. Yep. 3-0 away in Istanbul. That's no mean feat. It looks like he's managed to get some confidence into the players. He's reminded them of what made them so successful last season. How long that lasts, is anyone's guess. But I think I honestly don't know. I don't know, because
firstly, do you
I think Forest should be good enough, like should have enough. But
are we getting to a point where it's between Tottenham and West Ham? Is that what we're saying? Do we think Leeds are okay?
Leeds will be fine.
I think Leeds.
Do you
are
think
okay,
Leeds will be fine? Just to say as well, a quick stat on Leeds: they've already got as many Premier League points, this season with 31 as they did in their last season in the competition when they went down. So we're already.
There's a confidence about the group now, the way they're playing. There's a really good run of form.
So Leeds are fine
for a while.
Forest we're quietly confident on. West Ham.
I watched West Ham Bournemouth, and they were again. They looked like they're revitalised. They've got something. Like Bournemouth had big spells in the game.
Well, you also said about West Ham a clean sheet. It's a clean sheet. You said about how the
Disasi's made a difference. Like he's, it's a shame. Gary wrote this morning. Gary Jacob. It's a shame they couldn't have got him earlier in January. They look more solid, and they now have a real threat, and they're getting the most from Somerville and Bowen as kind of out-and-out wingers, and Castellanos is like a focal point, and Lucas Paquetá moving on has meant Mateus Fernandes has really stepped up, and he's like really creative, but also like industrious in midfield. So they've got a good balance and shape to them. So Yeah, it's just that they have that deficit to make up. Like it's whether, and they've got a tough run of fixtures now. I think they play Liverpool and Man City in the next few weeks. Like, you feel like Spurs are more likely to be drawn in than Forest.
Really interesting. We'll see what happens at the bottom of the table in the coming weeks. As I mentioned there, Wolves losing against Crystal Palace. A good win for Oliver Glasner. Alyson, I'm just wondering what kind of support your new charity for underperforming and slightly irritating managers this season, who we did love last season and now most of us don't like him again. What kind of support are you going to offer to Oliver Glasner after his latest nonsense rants? I've had enough, Alyson. I've had enough.
You've had enough?
Friday afternoon, he's moaning again. Then after this game, he slightly backtracks. Sounded like he's asking to be sacked, which is the new trend for managers this season. You know, I want to be sacked. I want the payoff. I want to preserve my reputation. Come out, have a moan. Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. And then, oh no, wait, I still actually have to do my job, which I'm paid millions of pounds for. Get a win. And then yesterday, I was discussing it with James Gearbrand, a slightly baffling press conference where he both doubles down on his latest comments and about having a go at the fans, staying humble, but also says, you know, honestly, I say this to my kids all the time as well. I mean, shut up and just do your job. I mean, I've had enough.
Really, I think we're in the wrong business if we want managers to shut up. We rely on managers not shutting up, don't we? Actually, I don't think anything he says is inaccurate. You might say he shouldn't be saying it, but he's quite right. He has brought...
It's not in any way helpful to Palace.
He has brought Crystal Palace their best ever in their entire history moments.
And they could have another. They could have another 12th again who gives us stuff.
That should be rewarded, and it wasn't. So I have no problem with him saying what he wants to say at all.
I don't quite understand the comments he's making at this point.
Yes, Pete, backing me up again.
He's already said he's leaving. The relationship between him and the fans is pretty ruptured.
That's the one, surely, Alyson, on the fan point. Like, fair enough if you want to have a go at the board for not backing you, but the fan point, you know, he could finish this season 12th again. Yeah, sorry, Pete, I've interrupted you. But it's the fan point that I don't understand.
Yeah, I think just even stay humble. I mean, you know, it was a club that nearly went out of business, wasn't it, in 2010? I think I saw Darren Ambrose quite impassionately talking about why that's really going to rub up the supporters the wrong way. And it doesn't need to do it. We all know that there's been a disconnect. We know that there's been an issue in terms of how he feels that the team have not moved on since qualifying for Europe and winning the cup. Just try and make the most of the end of the season. You know, you're still in Europe, could still win European competition.
That's what I'm saying. They could win another trophy, and it'll be the most
still
amazing short spell as a manager ever. And he goes off into sunset.
He doesn't believe he can because he hasn't got depth of squad to juggle.
But surely you're in it now. You've gone through the January window. You've got the squad now, and they did sign some players. Fair enough. You might not be like Strand Larsen's good enough, but he scored a few goals. Like, they've bolstered the squad. Surely just lock in now and be like, all right, I'm going to stop having a pop at everyone. I'm going to lock in now to the end of the season.
Oh, come on, just imagine you did what he did. Just imagine you did what Oliver Glasner did.
And imagine I had the chance to do it again.
You don't know, that's the point. He wasn't... Look, there are parts of it, it's all mad. He shouldn't be saying what he's saying, but I understand, with Alyson, I totally understand why he feels it, because the club haven't, been able to regenerate the squad or to add to it when they knew they were going to have far more commitments and you know, a lot more games this season in Europe and whatnot. And they knew that Gay and Eze were going to go, and yet they fought it, or they left it to the last minute and they didn't have a replacement lined up.
How are you then falling out with the fans? The fans would agree with him entirely.
It's not all the fans, is it?
No, it's not all of the fans, but
Maybe the fans are falling out with him because of the way he's fallen out with the club, really, more than anything.
Well,
I don't know. I think he's handling it in an odd way. But anyway, Crystal Palace fans, maybe you can get in touch and clear it up for us. Tom.Clarke at thetimes.co.uk. Palace are in 13th, just ahead of them. Sunderland having a bad run, 3 defeats on the spin, losing at home to Fulham. The one good thing Sunderland did, and if you've not seen it, Dan Ballard wins the best penalty from a position where you shouldn't win a penalty ever, I think. Ball dropping, blocks off the ball of the centre-back. You're thinking, right, he's going to do the spin and kick it off the player and get a corner. That'll be pretty good. Not that. He rolls his man and gets brought down for a penalty. Absolutely fantastic from one of the players of the season. Another quick mention for a man on the opposite side, Raul Jiminez. I listed those stats from those strikers, the big spending strikers in the first half of the show. He cost Fulham about £5 million. 30 goals in 100 appearances. We're a big fan of Raul Jiminez.
I love him. I interviewed him, and I mean, the guy's bravery. He's fractured his skull, you know, and yet he's one of the bravest strikers in the air you'll come across. And he's always wearing that protector, so you can never forget that he did. This is a bloke who fractured his skull.
Yeah.
And he said, I said, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you go up, and you don't mind if there's a clash of heads. You don't seem to mind. He says, I have no memory of the accident, so
so I'm not scared.
I have no, post-traumatic stress. I just do what I always do.
Yeah.
And he's a sunny individual. He's not one of those. I mean, he's still rotated, and he's not. He doesn't give his manager any problems at all. He's a proper team player.
Record penalty converter in the Premier League, isn't he? 13 out of 13.
Oh, wow.
That one.
Yeah, so, he never looks like he's going to miss, does he?
Yeah,
when he struts up.
And they signed him when Mitrovic was still there. I don't think he was signed to be a Mitrovic replacement, but he's
one of.
I think he's one of those players too that you kind of wonder what might have been for him. But there was, when he was scoring all the goals at Wolves before that injury, he was being linked with bigger teams, and I think he could have played at higher echelon, but still a great goal scorer.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Chelsea. We mentioned them a couple of times in the show already, dropping points again. Pete, you were there. They've dropped 17 points from winning positions at home this season. The last time they dropped more points was 95-96, which says a lot about what a fortress Stamford Bridge has been. Cole Palmer was back. Everyone puts him in their fantasy football team like I did, and they draw 1-1 at home against Burnley. Another sending off as well. It sums up this messy season for Chelsea.
Can you just cut from the last time I was on? Use that and then just change Maresca to Rosenia, and we'll go from there. It's the same story with them. And the fact that the manager has changed, and we're still seeing a team that, when it plays again in games that they should be winning, they just become complacent. There's a real soft underbelly
because they were 1-0 up. It's a great start.
They weren't playing, but they went 1-0 up, and it's like, right, they could run away with this, clean it up, sort it out. 3-4-0, easy does it. Real lack of intensity, real lack of tempo, and that's all. There's clearly quality within the group, even though they rotate as much as they do. There is a lot of technical quality among those players. And I could see Gregor smiling at me because I know what he's going to say, so I'm going to leave the experience and the age thing to him.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, you think there should be for $1.5 billion?
Oh, that's the
other one. Right.
I need a little ding. Some pals in on the money spent at Chelsea. Correctly, though.
But this is the point, right? Yeah. The manager's changed, and they haven't beaten a newly promoted team at home. They threw away a 2-goal lead against Leeds in the same way. I mean, I'm not mentioning the indiscipline thing because, I mean, that says its own story. But this is purely about the performances in these games where they just drop off. The place you look is the squad, and the way they built the squad, and therefore those who have built the squad, because this is the 4th season of the new ownership. Yeah, they've spent 1.4 billion, as Gregor smilingly mentions. Yeah, the sporting director's overseen most of this investment. So Rosenia's got to try and solve this issue, and he was pretty firm after the game, saying it's not good enough, and obviously the equaliser, he goes for the marker, the unnamed marker, who I think is Andre Santos or Joshua Champong, judging from the videos, saying that an assignment was not done. Gregor was desperate to jump in. I'm going to keep going. But he also said, because I said, is this a mindset thing? Which I feel like I've asked 4 or 5 times. Yeah. And then he points out 4 games, Palace, Wolves, Leeds and Burnley. He's only done 6 league games, and can recognise. I think it's a lack of concentration.
Got good result, like good record overall.
He has, but it's been a good start. You'd expect them to pick up the points in these games. We're seeing the same pattern basically. And this is the thing that they need to resolve if they want to make that step up. But the fixtures now get tougher. But the thing is, they'll probably be quite good in those, and they'll beat Aston Villa and they'll beat Arsenal, and then we'll say, Chelsea, fantastic.
Well, just
Santos blocked a cross to concede the corner and started celebrating to the crowd.
Oh, he's off.
Right?
He's off.
No. But let's see, when Arsenal yesterday, Raya claws one off the line. Okay, I'll give you that. All of them are. He's celebrating like this. Jordan Hato comes over, high fives him. The next minute, he forgets to mark his man and he heads it in. He's still got the corner to defend. What are you doing?
I've actually got another one from the game, which I note down in the first half. Malo Gusto breaks into the box, and he just has. There's 2 men in the box. I think one's João Pedro, and he does a no-look cross from the left, And it's one of those weird ones. If you're doing a no-look cross, who you look, there's no, the no-look cross is the idea is that you look at another player when you play the pass, but he's looking at the stand. So
looking at nothing.
reading a newspaper.
But
someone's eating something. And, can I have a Haribo?
These are really small things, and I don't normally, but in the context of what we're seeing, I'm talking about the team's character, and staying in these games and intensity and taking these games as seriously as you can.
But then
those kind of things really undermine it.
But Rosinia took off Reece James.
Yes, but you could see Reece James was stretching, and that was quite a last ditch thing. And where you sit, you could see it was like, well, get Josh Shamwell not risking Reece James if he's.
But just wrapping up then on Chelsea, then we summed up a lot of their problems this season. You've got Chelsea in fourth, 45 points. Manchester United, who play Everton tonight, also on 45 points. Liverpool in sixth, also on 45. Who finishes fourth? Just one word. Silence.
United.
Goodness me, that's all set up for an Everton victory tonight, isn't it? Paul Joyce will be reporting on that for the Times website. Let's just finish with a quick bit of praise for James Milner and Fabian Rutzler, by the way. Another win for him as Brighton manager under pressure, but getting a win at Brentford, the hardest thing to do in the Premier League, as we say on this podcast. 40 years old, James Milner. Gregor, as a former professional yourself, how hard is it that he's to do that, what he's done? To be playing at this level at 40, it's astonishing, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, all I can say is that's like get on for twice as many games as I played, and 8 years longer than I managed to continue playing as well. And I found it quite hard in the time I was playing to kind of play 30 odd games a season or whatever. Yeah. And he's managed to do it for 24 years now.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary, extraordinary, and it's like the biggest thing is his mentality, the way that he's always like just everywhere he's gone being the best professional in the building, the first one in, the one who works the hardest, the one who's always the fittest, the one who everyone just looks to and sees an example.
Yeah,
and I think he was that from the very beginning. Yeah. So, incredible achievement. Yeah.
Absolutely. Congratulations to James Milner. We'll leave it there. Peter Rutzler, Alyson Rudd and Gregor Robertson, thank you very much for joining me on today's show. We'll be back with the regular show on Thursday. We'll see you then.